All right, so with the little bit of time that I have to speak to you today, which I'm very grateful for, I have a few objectives. One is to give you an overview, broad overview of different options that are available for you to develop applications with ArcGIS. That's the technology that's built and provided by Esri. Related to that is to, in particular, promote our Esri Canada GIS Centers of Excellence App Challenge that we host every year. Also to hopefully encourage some of the people on this call, if you're a York U student and you're attending this meeting or watching the recording afterwards, you are likely a candidate to be a student associate. So the Centers of Excellence is a network of universities across Canada with strong GIS programs that specifically participate and nominate a limited number of students to be student associates each year, which gives you access to resources and perks through Esri Canada, the opportunity to promote your work and your experience through your studies on our website. But in particular, we like to see student associates, but also anyone attending an EECE school. We like to see those students participating in the app challenge. So if you have an interest in building applications, even if you have some hesitancy about app development, don't let that worry you. I'll hopefully set your mind at ease here and encourage anyone who's maybe on the fence about this kind of competition to join in. So the competition is 1 week. It's a team-based competition. Each team will have 2 to 3, ideally 3 students per team. That can be student associates. It can be any student at York University. It can be a mix of you together. If you are interested in this, dates are scheduled within a period of time over late February to early April. That gets determined in collaboration with your EECE directors, that's Modgkin and Costas. So if you are interested, I would just say to let them know so that they can collaborate with you to pick an ideal time that works with your schedules. So in this challenge, your team will be asked to develop an application that addresses a specific topic. So that could be usually something fairly broad like climate change or sustainable transportation. And you need to use open data in combination with Esri's ArcGIS technology. You can mix that with other components that complement Esri technology in a variety of ways, but central to your application, there should be some key Esri components from ArcGIS. In addition to that app, your team will be required to develop a mission statement for your project, provide associated documentation, and produce a video that demonstrates and promotes what your team has produced. So up for grabs, if you enter this competition, is usually an expenses paid trip to the Esri User Conference in San Diego. That happens each year in July. Obviously, the past couple of years, that was a bit of a challenge. Next year is supposed to be another in-person event. That's what they are planning. We'll see whether or not that pans out, whether there will be issues with travel constraints, in which case we'll do what we've done in the past couple of years, which is substitute with a cash award. Now, the last point here is really something that I want to drive home for anyone who has a bit of concern about entering a challenge that's based on building applications. If you're not a programmer, it's not a problem. You really don't need to write code to participate in this. There's 2 ways around that. One is it is a team-based competition, so get some team members who have some development experience, and they can take on the bulk of the work for programming and developing an application, and there's lots to do for composing a video, developing the documentation, sourcing data, all of that stuff. So it is a team competition, and if you aren't a developer but you have colleagues that are, that's one way to not have to worry about coding itself. The other alternative is, as a team, you can choose to build applications with a variety of options that are available with the ArcGIS system that don't require writing any code at all. And that is a strategy that teams have used very frequently. So the technology you're working with is, of course, ArcGIS. So that's the system provided by Esri. These days, it is at its core really centered around ArcGis Online, which is your web GIS that provides a medium for publishing and using geospatial data and exchanging that between a variety of different applications that run on your desktop, like ArcGIS Pro for your advanced GIS analysis, 3D visualization, and so on, to mobile apps on your devices, or web apps that share and present your data in a variety of different ways. And in addition to that, there are a number of APIs and software development kits that enable you to integrate ArcGIS functionality into any application that you can incorporate those into. So considering the different approaches you have available for building applications, the first, if you're someone who doesn't want to write code, you have lots of options available. Right in ArcGIS Online, if you've been doing some analysis in ArcGIS Pro or building 3D scenes in City Engine, you can take those data, publish them into web scenes and web maps in ArcGIS Online, and then share those through a variety of different types of applications like dashboards, story maps, or custom applications that you build with Web App Builder or Experience Builder. All of these are approaches that you can take to build highly impactful and interactive applications that you can share without writing a single line of code. And I'll mention again, as I have when I talk about this stuff in the past, the first great example of this approach in the App Challenge was in 2017. It was some of your predecessors. They used Web App Builder to build their application and combined that with an overall project that effectively presented what they did with the data, what their team's objectives were. And overall, the project that they produced set them apart from the rest of the competition and won them the grand prize that year. So just planting that idea, and the similar approach has been used by many teams in the past, and teams that have won in recent years still often take the approach of not writing code. They just focus on the data and building an application and an experience. Now, if you do like writing a little bit of code, but you're not into developing full-on applications, maybe you spend a lot of time doing scripting and automation. So there are, of course, options for doing that in ArcGIS. If you're in ArcGIS Pro, for example, you can use Model Builder to develop a workflow, still not writing code, but automating processes that do some kind of analysis that you can put together. Your alternative to that is using R or Python to script some kind of analysis with a variety of inputs and outputs. And you can use those as is, or you can make them shareable and reusable as custom tools where people that you give them to, or even yourself, can use them just by providing the required inputs and outputs without needing to know the complexities behind the tool. So that's kind of like a first step into a little bit of development in the same domain, but a little more interactive and advanced is the use of Arcgis Notebooks. So this is a combination of Python with the Arcgis API for Python in a Jupyter notebook where you can interlace live code interactive visualizations of the input-output data and rich text and multimedia to give a narrative that surrounds the code that you have in your notebook. So again, I'm just planting ideas for you to think about things that if you're interested in the app challenge, these are all resources that you can use. Notebooks you can use standalone in Python, embedded in ArcGIS Pro, as well as in Arcgis Online without having any software on your own machine. Now, your next sort of development approach, if you're building applications, is either to add new functionality to existing applications through frameworks for extending them, or to take existing applications where you can access the source code and just make small changes to the functionality and appearance of those applications. And this is a way to basically start with something that's already functional and you're just doing a small amount of development to add something unique. So your approach is, for example, the geoprocessing tools I mentioned before, that in a sense is already augmenting the capabilities of ArcGIS, giving people custom tools that they can use. If in some contexts, you might develop server extensions or ArcGIS Pro add-ins on the desktop. More typically for the app challenge, you'd be looking at things like App Studio, which lets you create and customize native applications that run on mobile devices and PCs, or on the web using Web App Builder or Experience Builder or a variety of templates that Esri provides. These, for the templates, a lot of these are published in GitHub with source code available. Web App Builder and Experience Builder have developer editions, so you get the same experience building an application and configuring it and getting a starting point, but then you have access to the source code to extend that and change them a little bit. So you don't have to write a lot of code to have a complete application, but you still have the ability to get in there and make your own unique changes. And then if you are someone who likes to write code, there's lots of great options available for whatever development environment you prefer. Typical approach is to build simple web applications, starting with the Arcgis Api for JavaScript. It's very easy to get started with that, building highly functional and interactive web mapping applications with very little code, because the API itself does a lot of the work for you. And we have examples in past years of teams that have taken this approach, highly custom applications that have won the app challenge. So over the years, we see a balance of the different approaches doing well. And it really, at the end of the day, has more to do with the overall package that the team produces and not so much the specific choice of technology. And then you can, of course, combine multiple approaches. So if you were to do a whole bunch of analysis and you kind of build your workflow and narrative and documentation in an Arcgis notebook, which you could host in Arcgis Online, or just put in, have it in our GitHub repository, and you can see the sort of rendered output at the end of it. That can be part of your project's sort of backstory for what you've done to prepare your data and develop your application. And that can be just combined with simple configured web maps and app templates in Arcgis Online, and the two together would create the sort of story that your team is building. A similar approach to this was, for example, used by the team that won a couple of years ago from U of T. They had a very simple custom web app or web page that they used as sort of a project homepage, and integrated applications that they built in Arcgis Online out of the box. So there was no custom coding in those applications. They just meshed it together with their project. So lots of great ways to approach this. Lots of ways to make something new and unique that stands a good chance to win or rank highly in the app challenge. So if you're interested, whether it's to participate in the app challenge specifically, or if you just want to see what you can do to use the resources that are available to you, all of this technology is available to students like yourselves at an institution like York University with a license with Esri for ArcGIS. If you want to learn more, here's a variety of links that you can refer back to get started with Arcgis for developers, some learning and training resources. If you are a student associate, you do have access, for example, to some instructor-led courses if you'd like to take one or two of those through Esri Canada's training. And there's a few connections here for networks if you want to get in touch with like-minded individuals. And if you want some inspiration or just to get a sense of what teams have been doing in the past, check our GitHub webpage. It showcases the team profiles, their video presentations, and in many cases, their applications are still live running online that you can take a look at. And just keep in mind, again, if you're someone who's hesitant about developing great applications, you don't want to write code. When you're looking through these, keep in mind that a lot of them, you may think they've done a bunch of programming, but they've actually just used out-of-the-box applications configured in ArcGIS. And just to kind of drive home, we're not just telling you to use our technology in our education and research group. We do lots of creative things on our own. So these are just, if I had time, I could spend a long time talking about just even these two samples that I'm showing here. One's an origin destination matrix visualization tool that's on the bottom right. The other is a custom application that we've developed to integrate City Engine with a tool that lets people configure the layout of a street and generate a 3D visualization of that through rules that are applied by City Engine to create those models. So we're doing stuff like this all the time. If you're interested in the app challenge, or if you even just have questions about how you might apply this to some of your own work, feel free to get in touch with us. And that said, I'm not sure how well I stuck to my time that was allotted. May have gone over a little bit, but if you have any questions, you can follow up after or ask now. I'm not checking the chat, so